Okay, so shall we start? So hello once again. Thank you so much for joining us today. So the webinar would be recorded. So if someone of your colleagues could not make it today, just please let them know that the video would be available on our YouTube channel. So I hope tomorrow. So it's not a huge big deal. So today's webinar is actually our second in this month, and also we are planning other presentations in next month in August. And currently we are negotiating with our collaborators. And so please follow our news. And the best way to do it is to subscribe and follow ChemSpace on LinkedIn and Twitter, as well as on Facebook and Instagram. And also, before starting the presentation, would like to introduce our speakers and start with myself. So my name is Alexey Gavrilenko. I'm Chief Operating Officer at ChemSpace, working here for almost 3.5 years. I am chemist by training. I graduated from National University of Kiev. And before joining ChemSpace, I used to work as a synthetic chemist. And our main speaker today is Dr. Yuri Moroz, Chief Executive Officer on ChemSpace, and at the same time, he is a scientific advisor of INAMIN. And Yuri's background, he is also chemist by training. He received his PhD from Taras Shevchenko National University of Kiev. He did his postdocs in the US for almost 3 years. In Tufts University and Syracuse University. So from now, I think that would be it, and I would pass the word to Yuri. So Yuri.
Hi Alexey, hi everyone. Thank you for coming to our webinar. That I would like to share my screen. Hope you can see it, and I'm gonna start presentation.
Just everything looks fine.
Yeah, so I hope you see my screen now and the slides as well. Yeah, as I said, thank you very much for coming to our webinar. I hope you can learn more about chemical accessible chemical space we have been developing for over 20 years now, and that we call actually real space. And today I'm gonna talk about the creation of the space and its development and its recent update we just released early this month. So as you know, chemical space is pretty huge. It's been estimated to be around 10 to the power of 63 molecules, and it's more than stars in the universe. But commercially accessible chemical space is much smaller. It's about 8 million in-stock items available for the next day shipment or shipment in a few days, and billions of virtual compounds. So this second pool of the molecules is much more interesting for the research community, because the in-stock collection has been explored for a while. And these virtual compounds can be really interesting alternative to the overused stock items. The problem with virtual compounds is actually chemistry behind the molecules, because at the end of the day, after all the experiments you perform using virtual screening, you need these molecules to be delivered and tested in the lab, actually in the lab. And at this step, problems typically occur. Some of the molecules require special reagents that needs to be synthesized or developed at the very beginning, as well as the synthetic procedures to make the final molecules and reagents have to be re-evaluated and developed from the scratch. All this results in a lot of delivery of these virtual compounds, and people really don't like them if they hear virtual. And the problem is, or the explanation is, that these virtual compounds in many cases are provided by non-experts, because now it's very easy to do the library enumeration with a number of tools available, as freely available, and as well as those that require license. And we think that only synthetic expertise is the key for right enumeration of the chemical libraries. And there is a company in UN called Inamine that has this expertise in chemistry. It's been operating since 1991 and has gained the expertise and in the synthesis of over 3 million compounds. It's growing company. It has its 10 own buildings, and the number actually are increasing. The company is growing also in terms of the staff. There are over 700 bench chemists work at Inamine, and total of 1,000 scientists, including those that not only synthesize molecules but also support them to be delivered in high purity and on time. One of the major businesses for Inamine is catalog synthesis, and because of the catalog synthesis, this knowledge that collected upon the synthesis of the molecules can be shared within the company. It's also shared within with a scientific community, with over 50 scientific publications published yearly. This chemical knowledge is a key to correctly predicted virtual libraries, which we call make-on-demand compounds. The way it works is the following. Imagine a chemist at Inamine developed this reaction, just following 5 well-elaborated steps. He or she, they know how to do and can repeat with different sets of the starting reagents. They apply this synthetic steps to readily available molecules from the Inamine warehouse, and at the end they receive this aldehyde in a decent yield, and they know that can potentially repeat these 5 steps and generate analogs of this firstly synthesized aldehyde by just changing the starting reagent, these ketones or hydrazines. And with that chemical knowledge allows to generate the pool of make-on-demand analogs, and because the cost of the reagents is known, as well as the time to build the molecule, you can estimate the price and the synthesis time for these analogs. And then you can put them in the catalog and make them available through ChemSpace, which is actually a platform for small molecules that offers over 1.4 billion molecules now, and they're searchable, they're online, and almost all of them are with pricing. So these make-on-demand molecules are in between classical in-stock items and the custom synthesis required molecules. There are different types of products of these make-on-demand compounds. One of them is building blocks, Then we have real database, which is actually a database of enumerated structures. And we have real space navigator, which is a tool. I'm gonna briefly talk about building blocks today, and we'll focus more on the real compounds. So make on demand building blocks, those are typically molecules with reactive groups still ready to be modified, like this spiroamine. They are synthesized using flask chemistry in up to 5 synthetic steps and typically synthesized on the gram scale. So real compounds are compounds with almost all reactive groups coupled, and they can be used for actual screening, for the wet screening against your targets. They are typically synthesized using one-pot parallel chemistry approach in 1 to 3 steps and on milligram scale. That is available. That is pretty much enough to run the screening experiments. For real compounds, for the current release of the database, we're using over 190 validated procedures. Again, one-pot procedures like this one. They can be simple as well as not very simple. We try to, as I said before, we try to share this knowledge with the scientific community by publishing our findings. For the current release of the database, we added more reactions, so its size actually expanded. The database and the real compounds in general, they're based on over 130,000 building blocks available next day or same day for the synthesis. And when we select the molecules from over 200,000 collection available at Enamine, we do this selection based on the experimental data we collected from the reactions like this. So what we do basically, we test each building block in a set like this aldehyde in a set of reactions common for this type of compounds, and then if this building block behaves well in the reactions we set, we include the building block in the enumeration. If the building block behaves not very well and results in a low score experiments, in this particular reaction, we do not include this building block in the enumeration within this reaction. We always try to find alternative procedure to include as many building blocks as possible. And if we see that building block can behave well in our conditions, under our conditions, we typically include the building block from the enumeration. These are just some examples of new building blocks added to the current release of the real database. As I said, there are two ways to surf in the real compounds. So one of them is the database, the classical database with enumerated structures, and the second is actually real space navigator. This is a tool developed in collaboration with Biosolve IT. A few words about database. It's a classical database in SMILES or SD format with a set of fields including structures, IDs, and some useful information for you to search and maybe shrink it according to your criteria. The database is pretty little with a huge fraction of compounds that pass Payne's and Lilliamet camera rules. The database is available as searchable online. It's available through API, through KNIME, or you can download it as a flat file or SD file, as I said. There are two ways to search in the database online. You can use in-a-min store and search by substructure, similarity, or exact match, as well as you can use ChemSpace. These are a few use cases where we with our collaborators showed the usability of the real compounds. Then a few words about the space Navigator. As I said, it's a tool and it uses a special search called feature tree search that treats molecules not based on the features they have. So before the search, it splits the molecules into the nodes, and each node has its own set of features, like donors, acceptors, whether it's aromatic or not, volume, etc. And the nodes are connected in a special way. They are connected in the molecule. Then upon the search, it tries to find the molecules with the similar set of nodes and maps them to give the similarity. And you can see these molecules are not similar by structure, but can be similar by a set of features. So this approach is very useful when you try to do, for example, scaffold hopping. Like for this example, you have a set of molecules results when you query the database, and with this particular initial molecule, you see that the molecules are different in the structure, and the Tanimoto similarity is pretty low, but they have similar set of features. We showed the usability of this approach published in the paper last year. Real space Navigator can be downloaded from in-a-min BioSolve web page, and you can web pages. You can try it. It has a free trial for a few days, or alternatively, you can search it online on chemspace.com. The way it works, once the query is submitted, you should expect an email with a link to the results appeared in 1 to 2 minutes. So it's pretty fast, especially talking about the size of the database or the space you are searching in. So as I said, the beginning chemical space is pretty huge, and we are exploring very tiny portion of it. But we're always trying to expand it as much as we can and make it available to the scientific community. With that, I would like to thank you, huge groups that are involved in the creation of these products, from in-a-min, ChemSpace, BioSolve, our collaborators from UCSF, Harvard Medical School, Carnegie Mellon University, and I would like to thank you, everyone who actually uses the real. Thank you very much, and looking forward to seeing your questions.
Yeah, thank you, Yuri. It's a very nice presentation of yours. Yeah, it's true. That's actually true that we are doing all that we can, all that is possible from our side to make this tiny little fragments of the huge chemical space available to the users, to the community, chemical community. Yeah, so please go ahead with your questions in the question box. I will read them to Yuri if we have several questions. So the first question just came up. So can we source enamine compounds through ChemSpace? This was the first question. Yuri?
Yes, and the answer is yes.
Yeah, obvious. We have another question. Can I do a substructure search of real through ChemSpace interface or only on enamine?
Well, I think the answer is you can use both enamine and ChemSpace to do the substructure search in the real database.
Oh, by the way, a question from my side. Is there any difference in querying or enamine or ChemSpace? Is there any difference? So basically, both variants are actually the same, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. We have another question. ChemSpace only see similarity search, not substructure.
I think you're, I think at this point we're talking about the real space navigator or the real space. And with that, yes, you're correct. You can see only similarity or F3 similarity as you wish. And that's a special type of similarity. As I said, it treats the molecules as a nodes and finds the similars in terms of the features. In order to search real database on ChemSpace, you just need to go to the search page and draw the molecule and search. So once it's drawn, the search simultaneously is executed in all the subsets of ChemSpace database, and you receive the results from all the subsets where you can easily sort them based on the tags. And I think we'll have a separate webinar to show the new features of ChemSpace pretty soon.
Right. Oh, there is another question coming up. Is ChemSpace open for collaboration with universities in research in medicinal chemistry?
Yes.
Very briefly from your side. Right. Maybe there will be just one or two other questions from our attendees. Not for now. Oh, I think looks like that would be it. Or let's wait for another couple of seconds. Maybe someone's just typing at the time, just like right now. No. Appears that no. Okay, so I think since there are no further questions left for now, so you're all very welcome to send your colleagues' questions via email to Yuri or myself, or to ChemSpace email address on info@chem-space.com. And please do not hesitate. Anything, we're always open to new questions and trying to answer as quick as possible. So I think that would be it for today. And so I would thank you all so much for your time today, and we will be in touch. And so we're going to say stay safe and goodbye. And I will be closing our webinar.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you, Yuri. Goodbye.
Thank you, Alex. Bye.